What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this Rick and Morty Season 5, Episode 4 breakdown, Easter eggs, and review. And oh boy, was that possibly the grossest episode I think I've ever seen of this show. When the promo came out, many of us expected Morty to simply end up inside a weird world inside the breeding machine, but no, it was much worse. Now, while I did find it funny at the start, as we presume Morty did use the machine and Rick tried to get him to confess, it kind of just never switched back. And here we are with a giant incest baby, which, no. It wasn't even funny and was up there with possibly the dragon episode as the worst episode of Rick and Morty to date. I wouldn't say the definitive worst, as unlike the dragon episode, we had some very funny one-liners, and I admit I did laugh at Handjob Solo. We open with Morty at the horse hospital, waiting for his mum to see a movie, and it would have been nice to see if, well, he got over Planetina, which, hey, I guess he did, he's just using the breeding machine. Beth also mocks Marvel, which is funny, as some of the writers have been drafted to work on Ant-Man Quantumania, and then we cut to 1 week later after Morty was staring at the machine. It's clear from the get-go that Morty has used the machine, as he says, "Morty, you dirty dog," and drinks orange juice in a dressing gown. Now, coincidentally, he also drinks that directly after boning Gwendolyn in the episode Raising Gazorpazorp, which is pretty much almost a copy of this episode with Morty procreating, which a lot of you in my comments did say that's probably what's going to happen. Now, Rick, however, has a barrel of horse sperm, and Morty is paranoid. The episode is basically a lesson in honesty for Morty from his grandfather, kind of, but it goes terribly wrong. I fully expected it to be one of those kind of episodes with the adventure that was going to then show Morty having it all been set up by Rick, like the acid episode, for him to teach him a lesson. But here Rick uses his sperm to create a bioweapon against the Chuds, the cannibal horse people who, hey, aren't they kind of not cannibals as they only eat humans and, well, they're horses? Having the episode be about that with a Family B story would have been a lot better. But instead, due to Morty having boned the machine, it leads to a gigantic mutant sperm being created instead of the bioweapon against the Chuds. I like the effect of it being turned on and the monsters appear as the family try to escape, and Morty and now Rick try to hide their mistakes. Morty doesn't want to be found out for his secret shame, and Rick has made a mistake he's trying to hide by saying that they're space sperm, leading to a question of how big space dicks are. I do wonder if this secret war with the Chuds is why Beth is actually a horse doctor. However, the government arrive and the president returns, which I'm sure a lot of you are happy with, after Morty says he has Rick's back, saying you have to wipe it off and throw it in the trash and go to study hall, which I'm sure we all get that is a reference to masturbation, as Rick doubles down on the space sperm idea, referencing the Yeti and even ancient Rome as a myth, which was pretty funny, as Morty is the arbiter of honesty in the president's eyes. The presidents believe it is indeed the Chuds who launched this attack, as the sperm expert comes in. It's here we get a reference to Independence Day, and of course, the episode is entitled Rick Dependence Day, which is a reference to the movie, and this character is an almost identical copy to Jeff Goldblum's character in the movie. He's also possibly a reference to the other guy at Area 51, the kind of weirdo hippie scientist who gets killed in the movie. The scientist believes that the sperm are heading for the Grand Canyon, and hilariously the poster does say America's G-spot. Everyone knows why except Beth, which is pretty good writing as she acts cynical, but it's because it's, well, America's vagina, and she seems disgusted that this is their first thought. The scientist has secured a specimen, much like Independence Day, where the scientist I mentioned, they had captured years prior, an alien. Now, Morty shoots it to hide his guilt, and I found it very apt that he said it had a gun, and no one asks questions. Very relevant in today's climate. Now, Morty and Rick just say give them a nuke, which they will take out as the president agrees, saying that people complain about what? The Grand Canyon becoming grander. It's funny, as the nukes were also an option shot down by the scientists in Independence Day, and Beth asks Jerry to do something, and all he does is pour water, and later ends up getting water for the president. It tracks as in Season 4, Episode 2, Jerry used the Globofin, which gives him the ideal life simulation. There he became a water delivery guy, and well, he just wanted to live his life like this episode. I thought it was funny that the president would only send men out, 100% male Marines, he said, and there's no sexy queen to kickbox except at the end when the queen mentions that no one knows kickboxing. Yeah, that's a pretty weird one. I did kind of expect Summer to turn up and kickbox. But on the plane, Rick and Morty bet who will survive and which of the background Marines will die. And they agree one will survive, the longest, which is Blazin, a badass who's meditating even during turbulence. Probably a reference to these badass kind of kung fu swordsmen, and maybe a reference to Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe, considering the Origins movie is out soon. However, the sperm have become intelligent and use a catapult. Sorry, the correct word is a trebuchet. And it really, really made me laugh how Morty's like, yeah, no one can tell the difference. But even the Bonehead Marines called it a trebuchet, as they land with the Bonehead Marine calling them women. And he makes sure he adds derogatory there. And he adds or at least needs a fat P or a plan. And they're attacked by the sperm as he sacrifices himself with a grenade, which is pretty funny as he gets to name them as no one can decide a name and calls them Krispy Kremes with a C. And Morty makes peace with a friendly one he calls Sticky. It knows that, well, he is their father, sort of, and Blazin almost notices he smells a cave, which is a total badass move there from Blazin. I did find it weird there was no portal gun used this episode, and it made me think that, hey, there's no portal gun being used all season from what I can recall. Maybe this isn't our Rick, as well, he didn't even take the fall for Morty like he usually does, trying to hide his mistake. But yeah, it's a very weird one. Now, we have the bunker as well, with Beth laughing, saying maybe the pilot got too horny over the Grand Canyon, and just makes smirks as Jerry lives his dream of just getting water. However, Summer comes up with the idea of leading the sperm to a gigantic egg, but it is an idea stolen by the scientist as he takes all the credit. I see online a lot of people are angry at the, quote, pandering they feel in this episode. I personally thought the jokes about everyday sexism were some of the strongest, but they never really went anywhere. I would have liked some more of that, or at least a resolution to that story. Just, in the end, it was just constant, non-stop of these pointing out of the everyday sexism. However, we see Blazin perish to hold off the sperm and says blood for blood and cream for cream as he accepted calling them Krispy Kremes, and falls on his own sword after leaving it in the air, and he's wearing a thong. No one believes his wife is Kathy Ireland, and I think that this was a character who would have been so cool if he wasn't just a really, really badly written lame riff on the usual badassy character. The sperm queen arrives, which sounds ridiculous to say, and it's all revealed that Morty created the monsters due to, well, him being a world-ending pervert, as Rick says. And I found it funny that Rick was putting a Carbline knockoff, calling himself Handjob Solo. It's hilarious when she calls herself Morty's shame incarnate, but I found it weird that we had the whole forced masturbation thing. I didn't like that. But Sticky saves the day, and it is a true underdog move there, and they defeat the Queen despite not having a woman kickboxer. The sperm are heading to Vegas, which Rick points out does track, because there's a giant egg there now, and it's Summer's egg. I mean, come on, you could have literally chosen anyone, but I think the writers wanted to double down on the sexism as they're making her just being used to procreate, which I get, but it's just freaking weird. The Vegas jokes fall really flat with the Cirque du Soleil bit. However, Morty reveals all as Rick and Morty are taken to the Chuds, and it's revealed that Rick actually had sex with the princess of the Chuds. The princess's name translates to explosion in some languages, and it's pretty funny as she vouches for Rick as the Chuds assist the humans. It's weird how there's been a century-long war with the humans that's never been mentioned, and it's just an heir is given and that's done. However, the name of the Chuds is a reference to the movie Chud, and it stands for Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, which they are there. The medieval chuds are a bit of a letdown, but the one-liners about being able to change like the whole Robert Downey Jr. thing and the prophecy scroll was pretty good. The episode had some decent one-liners, but really that's about it, as they head to protect the gigantic egg so it doesn't become a large incest baby. And they say that anyone, including Vegas residents and Amazing Jonathan, are patriots, who I learned is actually real there. We never got Mind Freak over here in the UK. And the jokes about men being sexist with them being given guns and not Beth over Summer and being pig-headed, those parts fell pretty short, as by this point I think they ran out of steam with that, as the wall is covered in spermicide and the wall is breached by an exploding sperm, which reminded me of Helm's Deep. Now, Beth and Summer ride the sperm, which is a reference to Jumanji, with the humans riding animals according to Dan Harmon, and the Queen is defeated, but Sticky impregnates and they pick up a heartbeat. Of course, this is a reference to the argument over whether life begins at conception, and Summer isn't allowed to blow up the egg due to it being an election year. A clear reference to abortion, which I'm sure won't be controversial at all. Wink, wink. However, it turns out that Kathy Ireland was indeed Blazon's wife, and she urges Morty to tell the truth. The core of the episode, which he does, and, well, she's disgusted that he was wearing her thong. Even the culmination of Rick's story, as he didn't have to raise his kids, was awful and unfunny. Nothing has a resolution, such as the feminism story, and Morty and Summer have an incest baby, which is just all levels wrong. People will defend it, saying the show has always been gross, but you know what? There has to be a line here, and maybe I wouldn't have minded if the story was actually well written, but it's obsessed with Morty's horniness, just like the rest of the season, and Rick is free of the baby horse thing and presses an easy button because I don't know. I really don't know. The baby is sent to space, and we see it in the post-credits scene, appearing like the baby in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And just some spoilers here for you for the later episodes, so you have been warned. The baby will appear later in an episode which was uploaded by mistake. And in that episode, we see the family form up Voltron style to try and take out that baby. Yeah, okay. Overall, it was a pretty poor episode. I think everyone is almost in agreement that this was a terrible episode. It was a real shame here. But that is it for this video. Please do drop a like down below. Please do subscribe with notifications on. And I'll see you soon, and goodbye.